Hello, I am Jon Boafo and welcome to a very special panel session of FEJA4. Today I am joined by 4 experts in the gaming industry for an exclusive insight into video games in Africa. Before we jump straight in, I would like for each of our panelists to introduce themselves so that we can get to know them a little bit better. Let's start off with Yves, who works at Ubisoft.
Hi. Sorry about the mask, but it's mandatory in France. So I'm at Ubisoft in Paris, in France, and I'm in charge of scouting for innovative games, talents, new countries as well, where everything is innovative. So new trends, and of course, Africa is growing force of innovation, especially in video games.
All right, thanks Yves for joining us on this session. And then we'll go to Nousra, who works for Gameloft.
Yes, sorry.
No worries.
I have some connection issues, so.
No problem. It's live, so we're trying to do the best that we can.
Yes, exactly. So my name is Nousra and I'm Senior Sales Account Manager at Gameloft. And we try to make sure that all our games are available in Africa and discuss with telco manufacturers to provide our games.
All right, fantastic. Thanks for joining us as well. We'll go next to Kunmi, who is, amongst other things, he's the founder of Game Evolution Partners. I think you need to unmute.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Kunmi Adenipedi. I am the CEO of Game Evolution Partners, and I am also the CEO of Tech Plus Esports Nigeria. What we do is provide esports and gaming content in Nigeria, like tournaments, and we are also into mobile game development in Nigeria. We've been doing that for the past 10 years, and we can say that we are the biggest esports tournament organizers in Nigeria. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us. And last but not least, we have Douglas. Douglas, who's the co-founder and CEO of Ludic Works in Kenya.
Thanks for having me. My name is Douglas Ogeto. I'm co-founder and CEO of Ludic Works. Ludic Works is Africa's leading video game publishing company that is helping video game developers and studios with their marketing, distribution, and monetization of their games. Our ambition is to be able to see more games from the continent, whether PC, mobile, or console, being able to be uptaken well on the continent as well as globally. Happy to be here and looking forward to interacting with you all.
Fantastic. All right, so let's jump straight in, and with a couple questions for both you, Yves and Nousra. What is the strategy for global brands like Ubisoft and Gameloft to expand into Africa? Or what is the strategy for that?
I don't know, Nousra, if you want to start or.
Yes, I would be happy to. So the thing is that in Africa, the way we try to reach the market is to the mobiles, because Africa, you need to remember, is it's a market that only have mobiles. And there's maybe a few people who have like some laptops and console, but it's not the vast majority. You have to remember that the price of a console is a little high for the salary that people have in Africa to get a mobile. So knowing that, and because Gameloft is a company that was only providing mobile games, we were able to adapt to the market really quickly because we type of games to make sure that they are well adapted to the market, to the device of the clients. Find ways to make sure that the clients, even though they don't have a good
I think we lost you right there. Nousra, are you still there? Well, this is one of those things that I think you're back. Sorry, we lost you for about maybe 5 or 10 seconds. If you can just start again from the last 5 or 10 seconds. I think we lost. I think we lost you, Nousra. Can you hear us? Yeah, sorry. Thank you. We lost you. Maybe let's go with Yves. Yves, what is your strategy for you being at Ubisoft? What is the strategy really for you guys to make an impact and expand?
For Ubisoft, the main thing right now is first approaching through a humble move, meaning we're not coming as Ubisoft saying, okay, we're going to do stuff with African game devs and players. It's really more about almost the opposite. It's us getting feedbacks, creating relevant bridges, and see where we could be useful. But there is not a strategy from our end. It's really building bridges and see where we would be useful. So sometimes it can be helping African game devs getting access to dev kits, for example. Sometimes it's just helping on promoting African game dev during panels where we're invited, but very often it's US or European game devs that are invited to talk at panels, and since there are a lot of very insightful game devs, so just letting our spot or sit during the talks and promoting African game devs. Or it's really establishing bridges, but not coming with a preconceived idea of what to do. It's equal ground relationship. So participating and supporting, for example, the Africa Games Week, or a similar event like Playtopia, and checking where we would be useful. Also trying to help support by consulting, giving advice on pitches, but it's really more exploratory phase at this time. Because Africa as a whole is not one single market, like Europe is not one single market as well. So like Nousra was saying, some countries are way more into mobile. Some are pretty much more advanced on PC or online games, some very small ones on console. So it's different markets. And so approaching through exploratory phase at this stage and checking where we would be useful.
All right, I think Nousra is probably back with us. If you can continue what you were saying earlier. Nousra, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right, great.
I'll try again and see if I have a better connection. But just for you to say is that in Africa, what we do is try to adapt to the market. And as I was saying before, some of the markets are more are really focused in the mobile. So what we try to do is to provide gaming offer that is adapted to the vast majority of the clients. And to do so, we focus mainly on the mobile and make sure that all the games that we provide are adapted to the handsets. To do so, we have a website that we are in relation with the telcos, the telecoms. So then when a client has, for example, MTN SIM card or Orange SIM card, they just go to that website and then they get access to all of our portfolio once they are subscribed to it. And the thing that we pay attention is the internet connection, the quality of the handset, and to do so, we provide games that are that don't use too much of data and that don't use too much of memory. So that's mainly the point.
All right. So you talked about, the adaptability of being able to adapt to the market, mainly being mobile, etc. Douglas, this question goes to you. What, as a game developer, what are like some of the challenges that you see in terms of developing video games in Africa for a market, which is, like Yves rightly said, so it's quite split between, people who are mobile focused, people who are like a little bit of console, and then PC. What challenges that you see?
Thanks for the question. So from where I sit, I think the challenge right now is mostly talent. I think the beauty about building a game is that there is a market for you, whether you build it for PC or whether you build it for mobile. The question is, what kind of game are you looking to build, and then how do you get it out to market? So currently, I'd say most of the challenges on the talent side. Given that most of the video game developers are self-taught, but now we're seeing more institutions coming in to provide the required skill set to build those quality-based game. And then the other stage now is getting, how do you get this game out to market? And I believe us, including other people, other players are coming on to help with the last mile, which is connecting now the games to the market.
All right, fantastic. Let's jump into esports. Shola Kunmi, this question is for you. I've seen that you have organized several tournaments throughout your career. How close would you say that we are to being able to have to professionalize in Africa?
Sorry, could you, the last 2 seconds, I couldn't hear what you said. How close are we to?
Yeah, so I was saying, how close are we to being able to professionalize esports in Africa? You see in other places in the world where there's a lot of, where big prize money, where people really, their real job is to be, is linked to esports, either as a gamer itself or someone who manages a team, etc. So how close are we, and what do we need to get to that level of professionalization?
Okay, so I can't say for the whole of Africa, but definitely yeah. I can talk for Nigeria. In the past 10 years that I've been organizing gaming tournaments, I've seen a tremendous growth in participation of the gamers, growing from 10 to 20s to thousands. The major problem we're always facing in Nigeria here is sponsorship in the gaming industry, because most of the corporate bodies here don't really understand what esports is. So it's a long range for us to try and convince them into investing in esports. But at least for the past 2 years, we've seen a couple of companies coming to sponsoring us and enabling us give quality tournaments like Tech Plus and West African Gaming Expo and Jagimevo. Those have been very big tournaments for us in Nigeria, and we've been having some sort of quality gaming, quality contents coming out of those tournaments. Now, for us to make it perfect, we need some more people investing in esports, because we have the talents, we have the people that are ready to participate, because day by day we get requests of young people trying to go into professional gaming, asking us what equipments to use, what games they should play, where they can play, where to meet gamers for them to start participating with. So it's very close for us to get to perfection. I think the only thing disturbing us right now is getting more corporate bodies to come and invest in esports, which we know that in 2021 we've gotten some sort of partnership with big telcos and banks that are ready to start investing big in esports. Even betting companies are looking at esports betting in Nigeria now. So we're very close to perfection in Nigeria, and I know countries like Ghana, Ivory Coast, Cameroon are also close to getting that perfection, because the level of tournaments, quality tournaments that they're dishing out from those countries are very awesome. So I think the most important thing is getting our corporates or getting people to invest in the esports tournaments we're doing, and also getting the producers of these games to know that there's a market for them in Nigeria. If we talk about games like PUBG, Call of Duty, there are thousands of gamers, if not millions, that play them in Nigeria. But we don't have the recognition. We're not on the map. People like Tencent, people like Activision don't even know we exist. When you try and reach out to them, they don't know. Because when people buy consoles, buy games, it goes through other countries like Asia and Europe. So we don't have our own PlayStation store, Xbox Live store. Nobody is our accounts is going through other countries, so they don't have the record of us spending that much money. 2016, we had $881 million in gaming revenue come out of Nigeria. Between 2016 and now, the minimum we've done is $100 million. So we are supposed to be on that map too. And that's just a tiny bit of the people that we have in this country that spend money on games. So imagine them coming in to show that, yes, we're here to support you and also give you the facilities to play these games and become professional gamers. They'll see more people. So we're close to perfection in the continent, for me to say.
If I may contribute to the same.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I think just to support what Kunmi has said, I'm happy to say that there are initiatives such as the Africa Esport Championship, which mandates is to identify, spotlight, and champion young people who are interested in playing esports professionally. Last year, they were able to bring together 24 African countries, 20 of this able to run national leagues, and the idea was to see how to actually, have a grand finale and identify the African winner within esports. Within the platform, last year they did FIFA, Tekken, and Street Fighter. And also the beauty about this is that Africa Esport Championship works closely with publishers, because the idea is to see how do you connect the people with the skills, the publishers who are looking for more people to play the game. And here in Kenya, we were fortunate to actually create content that aired on free-to-air TV. So for under Africa Esports, this year it's also grown to about 28 African countries, added titles such as PUBG, League of Legends, and also again working closely with the publishers to see also how to create commercial content, which also ends up at the end of the day is able to help the grassroots people who run these communities. So I think just to build up on what Kunmi is that yes, there's already a vibrant ecosystem, people already playing. Here in Kenya, for example, we do have a lady, she's in third year, she's studying law, but she's also playing professionally, and she's been, she's part of a team first in the UK, and then she was signed up by a team in the US, and we believe that with time, she'll keep growing. So there are already success stories, and we believe that more of this will be highlighted as initiatives run across the continent. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Just to bounce back on that, Yves, this question's for you. Douglas mentioned that there's a real issue with talent in terms of game development, etc. For you, having the experience and you yourself having experience, what is the key thing to be able to contribute and to develop the talent to be able to make better games which are also targeted towards the African industry?
One of the key things to have talent is to keep talents within the countries at some point. Meaning, if Ubisoft or other companies just pull talents out of African countries, then it will be like a endless cycle again. So one of the important things is to grow local talent locally, which means also having a virtuous ecosystem with college, university programs, etc. It already starts to exist in several African countries. Of course, South Africa, which already has 3 different programs on game design, of course, programming, art, etc. There's Ghana starting. There's Senegal, who already has polytechnic courses for game production. There's Rubika, who's implanted in Kenya or Tanzania, I'm not entirely sure. In Kenya, I think, but Douglas could correct me. So there's a Disney, who's a lot of also companies starting to do their own program, like Dev Campus from Amazon Game Dev, Microsoft supporting game devs in Ghana, Tanzania, South Africa, Google with a mobile dev campus, etc. So it's one of the key to have like training so that people don't leave their countries and start growing virtually. Other stuff that we are doing, for example, as Ubisoft, is what we call graduate program, meaning for 1 or 2 years, taking care and doing on a fast track African talent or different talent from any countries on specific tracks, and then they come back to their own countries to grow it and develop it locally. So it's very important not to approach through like stealing talents, but really give all the chances so that they can grow locally and expand the video game ecosystem in their own country.
Yep, that makes sense. I had a question for you, Nousra.
Yes.
If you're still with us as well. Fantastic. So, recently with COVID-19, we've seen on a global scale really a boom in the video game industry. Have you seen something similar as well in Africa with your company?
So for the pandemics, I think that it has a good impact in terms of perception of the video gaming industry, because from that moment, I think more and more people are now considering the gaming not as a hobby, but more as an industry, because the numbers were just like outstanding at that moment. And so that's the first thing. The second thing I would like to say regarding the African market is that the situation was maybe a little different, because you know that most of the population in Africa, and it's really generic, so it will always depend of the country, your revenue type, and so on, because it goes from really good opportunities to really difficult situation. And what we saw in Africa is that there were also a lot of people who weren't able to make that much money as they used to do before, because they weren't able to sell their product on the daily basis, and because of that, they weren't able to buy that much data or whatever. So then it impacted a little bit of the entertainment industry. But on the other hand, we saw like way more people being on internet at that time. They weren't consuming the same way, so it's a little tricky to talk about that, because there are some goods, and there were also some more difficult aspects, if I may say.
Yeah, certainly, and especially that in different countries in Africa, the reaction to COVID-19 has also been very different. Shola Kunmi, in Nigeria, how has that affected you and your businesses and the ecosystem, the video gaming ecosystem in Nigeria?
Okay, so for us in Nigeria, we were, as of 2019, let's say between 2010 and 2019, we were used to doing offline tournaments. So what happened was in 2020, we were not able to converge doing offline tournaments. So we had to find a way to push our tournaments online. And right before 2020, mobile gaming was very mobile gaming and mobile esports especially was very low in Nigeria. So most of the tournaments we were doing were based on PlayStations and PC and sometimes Xbox, but 90% on the PlayStation console. So what happened was we now tried pushing for mobile esports, and it was very big because between March and August, we were able to see over 12,000 mobile esports gamers playing PUBG and Call of Duty Mobile in Nigeria. So, which we never knew existed, but really we started trying the tournaments and pushing out that okay, you're going to win money from this. You get signed up into a clan or a team. You start seeing people because of that even start buying some expensive mobile phones because they wanted to join. So it was a big boom for the mobile esports for us, and a really console gaming esports because we actually have expensive data packages in Nigeria for console gaming, but it's quite cheap for the mobile gamers. And to be honest, the mobile gamers are 800 times bigger than the console gamers in Nigeria. When we did a survey last year, we had almost 2 million console users in Nigeria and over 50 million mobile users. So which makes it easier for mobile esports to even thrive in Nigeria. So what the pandemic did was push us more to establishing the presence of mobile esports in Nigeria, which made it very big. As we're talking now, we have over 200 clans and teams already for esports and mobile esports. So it was very good for us in mobile esports, but a new console esports. So that's what we saw here.
All right. Yeah, thanks for your insight on that. Nousra had talked about perception. So the perception have changed a bit. Douglas, this question goes to you. What do you tell African parents who don't want their kids to quote, waste their time or their brains on video games? We know we all have our parents and uncles and aunties who see us playing a bit and then they say, it's a waste of time, get a real job, become a doctor or an engineer or like a pilot or something. What do you say to them?
Yeah, it's interesting how they tell you, switch off that thing and go and study. But I think for us, how we are actually trying to change this is, most of our parents, let me say our, because I included, even though I haven't been a game developer per se. But the thing for most parents is, they don't understand, maybe what it takes to build a game, that it's a skill set, just like being a doctor, just like being an engineer. And then I think that in addition to that, they lack the numbers of how gaming has been successful in other markets. So I think now that we are seeing more institutions, coming very hard in terms of saying, hey, we'll probably sponsor X percentage tuition if you're looking to enter video games, as well as now that we're getting to see success stories. I think those are some of the ways that slowly is changing the stigma that most parents have. I think also the beauty of, if I could say, returnees. So, maybe you have a family member who's gone to, either Europe, US, etc., and has come back, and they're able to come with some of those success stories. We have one developer, for example, here in Kenya, who he went to China, did his studies, and then when he came back, he was able to come and show his parents some of the success stories for China. So getting that first-hand information, I think, is going a long way in terms of changing parents' perception in terms of both the video games as well as esports. So
this is a general. Sir, go ahead.
Yeah, so saying at least the narrative is slowly changing across the continent, because if you look at South Africa, I think South Africa has had a few exits when it comes to young studios. When you look also, West Africa and East, you could always handpick one or two people, and slowly this will change the minds slowly across the continent. Thanks.
I would like to add something on that.
So that's more of like, yeah, go ahead, Nousra.
Yeah, I would like to also say that obviously we have people coming back from abroad, but we also have we as GameLab, for example, discuss a lot with our partners to make them understand that the gaming industry is really an industry. There is a lot of money towards it, and every time that we come back with the global numbers, they always better listen after that, because when you come back and say there is 2.2 billion gamers worldwide, so this means that there is one people among four is a gamer, then they tend to change their perception of the gaming industry. When you also come back and say that that industry represents $150 billion of turnover in 2019, that's also changed the perception, because then they're just like, oh, there is a lot of money to take out of it and be part of it, and it's increasing. So I think also companies, when they tend to understand that, they also spread that idea of the gaming industry might impact positively the country or just their ecosystem.
Yeah, so you all kind of, sorry, Douglas, you're going to say something.
No, I just remembered, I think we all know about the Fortnite story of how a young boy was able to win so much money. So yeah. I think also on esports, parents are surprised when someone goes to play and comes back to home with about, let's say, $500. $500 is probably a month's worth of work for parents. So I think some of them just seeing that, you're going to play and coming back with money, they'll probably tell you, please go back and keep playing and come back with a bit more money. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So this is a general question to everyone. This is probably the before last question. What, according to each of you, maybe we'll start with Yves and go through the rest of you. What do you think is the most important thing that needs to happen for the gaming industry to be able to evolve and to grow exponentially in Africa? We touched upon, first of all, this first phase of educating, various stakeholders, be it parents, be it people from the government, etc., so they can understand the importance of video games. What do you think is a key factor for it to be able to grow exponentially?
Yeah, and to add on the educating, Western developers, publishers, event holders, VCs, funders, etc., needs to be educated on the talents, the creativity in African game devs as well. But on top of that, one key changer, thing that might really change stuff would be the different internet access that will be coming in the next years, like the liquid telecom with 5G on Eastern Africa, the Google Equiano initiative and the cable on the West Coast, Facebook, Simba cable, all different initiatives who will give normally, but you know better than myself, but normally better internet access and cheaper internet access across the continent. So that probably will add a lot of new players across the continent. Also, second important thing is, like Nousra mentioned, to educate people, especially governments, that there is money, there is talent, and like it was done on the movie industry, to help it grow, and it will give visibility to the country, to the culture. So showcasing and supporting all the different initiatives, like for example, there's a Prosearium initiative with all African women game devs across the continent that's been supported from Zambia, and you have hundreds women game devs from across the continent showcasing their games. And lastly, like Douglas was saying, trying to develop more and more games, meaning not everyone, not even in Europe or in the US, not everyone started as a talented game dev. Everyone failed, participated to game jams, etc. So there are more and more game jams in Africa, and African game devs are participating more and more to global game jam. Last year, I think it was 132 games made out from Africa during the global game jam from 20 countries, compared to 5 countries a few years before and only 20 games. So like everyone else, keep practicing, keep training, more education from government, more education from Western devs and publishers, and more access to internet.
Sure. This one, extension of the question. So Yves had mentioned, the participation and education of VCs and investors, and previously you had also mentioned getting more companies on board to give to sponsor. Basically, what do you think are the important factors in growing the industry in Africa?
Sorry, is that question to me?
Yes, it was you. Sorry, should I repeat that?
Okay. So yeah. Okay, let me run through it one more time. You can run it by me one more time.
Okay. No, I was saying that you had mentioned of getting more companies on board to sponsor some of the esports. And then Yves just mentioned the fact that it's also important for us to be able to educate investors and VCs. What are the factors that you think are important to grow the industry, specifically in Nigeria, but then in Africa in general?
Okay, so over here, what sells for people to invest? Meaning, what have you achieved within the past 5 years? How many professional esports players have you gotten? What has been your return on investment? Things like that. So if I'm pitching to, let me take them in stages. If I'm pitching to parents on releasing their children, I need to be able to bring out one professional esports player and say, okay, he makes 1 million every month, or he makes 10 million a year, things like that, which we already have those kind of success stories in Nigeria, which have been, we're trying to promote them so that parents can release their parents and their children and say, okay, it's you can start going to gaming tournaments or adding gamification in education in schools, which we're working with some companies to achieve that. Now, to go into companies that are willing to invest, most companies are looking for numbers. So it's quite difficult to give them numbers when we don't even have the facility to push thousands of gamers in one location. So what we are trying to do now is focus on esports content, online and offline, creating more tournaments, creating online content like online TVs. Like we're opening an 24 hours esports channel very soon, which will be showcasing all the game devs in Africa, all the esports tournaments are happening in Africa, and things like that, so that more people will be able to subscribe to our platforms, and then we're going to be able to show these investors that, okay, we have the numbers of viewers, we have the number of subscribers, we also have the number of online, offline people coming to our tournaments. That is the way they are going to invest in us. So the major thing is getting these people some sort of return on their investments, which will enable them sponsor or invest in whatever esports content that we have to provide for them. So it goes hand in hand. What we try and find something for them so that we can get something from them to invest in esports in Nigeria. So it goes both ways. And like I said, in 2021, we've seen potential investors in the esports sector in Nigeria. Even the government right now, the Minister of Youth and Sports just recently created a body to regulate esports and also get the government to invest in esports. So when we start getting things like that in Nigeria, and so Ghana too will follow, Ivory Coast will follow, Cameroon will follow, and yeah, the esports industry in Africa will now, get the spotlight it deserves. Because to be honest, we have in Nigeria alone, we have over 30 to 40 million youths that can go into esports. So the only thing stopping them is the publicity that it needs to get to all these people to see the advantages for them to get into esports, which is what we're working on now. So yeah, it will work for us if those people really invest, which I think is going to be for us.
All right. Shifting from West Africa to East Africa with Douglas. Douglas, you mentioned talent being one of the issues. What are the other contributing factors to us, growing a much larger video gaming industry in Africa?
Sorry, say that one more time.
No, I was saying that you mentioned that talent was one of the issues that you had. What are the other factors which would help in growing a video gaming industry in Africa?
So I think maybe, well, I'd say I also know that East Africa is privileged compared to some of the other markets when it comes to, whether video games or esports, after South Africa, for example. At least in East Africa, data is much more affordable, devices are at least affordable. So I'd probably say for us, really, it's the biggest thing is on the esports side, brands being able to associate themselves with esports because, most of them, again, the thing is like, yes, a lot of education has to happen, but the positive thing is, Africa will have the youngest population globally under 25 years. So, these are positive numbers for them to be thinking about. I think Yves pretty much covered, most of the things that has to happen. Maybe mine will be more of a call to action for investors. Most of the investors do not see Africa in that light of, that we have the talent, that we have disposable income. Most of us can afford PlayStation. Most of us can afford Xbox. We just have to ask, our cousins who are flying back to bring them. So mine might go mostly on the policy where we are trying to have government reduce the taxes. In addition to talent, we have to fight the policy to see how, a PlayStation will probably cost double here in Kenya than what it costs in the US. So secondly, policy, and then thirdly, I think just finding a way to work closely with other global publishers. Right now in Africa, we recently launched the Africa Game Developers Association, which boasts over 500 members, through a community of over 500 members across the continent. So the talent is there. The question now becomes, given that we're moving towards the gig economy, how do we find global studios also hiring talent from Africa or from Kenya? So I think in addition to the institutions bringing the skills, also we'd like to see more companies from abroad actually hiring this talent.
All right. Just to close it, I think we're running out of time. I have one last question, which starts with Nousra, and then the rest of you can answer if you have something to say about it. This is more of a practical question for our listeners and the people who are viewing this, who say to themselves, okay, yeah, I love video games. And they ask themselves, okay, how do I get involved? What should I study? What should I do? Where should I start? What's your advice for them, for people who want to get into, esports or the video game industry in general?
Okay, so just first to reply back to the first question, because I didn't, just to tell you, I think the ecosystem is already doing a lot, and I'm sure that in the coming years there will be a lot that will happen. We can see with the FEJA that is doing the 4th editions this year. So there is a lot happening right now in terms of what should happen to have a better KPIs in this industry. But then the other point I wanted to say is, like, obviously the constraints are always the same: the internet, the device, and so on. So basically, telecoms are doing their best to provide the best internet connection. it will, I think for sure in the coming years, people are going to have better smartphones, also a better internet connection, and they will be able to play more. In terms of solutions, I do believe that what is going to happen next and what needs to happen is for everyone to add their piece on that ecosystem. Obviously, we do have local developers. They're trying their best to develop their own games. What should happen mostly in the coming months, even for the gamers, is that everyone should promote what they're doing in terms of gaming. So this means that if you're a developer, you should show your story every day into all the social networks. So then you'll make some noise. Everyone will understand that something is happening in Africa. And even if people don't have the KPIs, they will see that there is a lot of people talking about gaming with thanks to the hashtags and so on. So then from that point, it will be easier to attract some VCs or some brands and say, you see, we do have that amount of people that use that esport hashtag whatever, and so many people doing videos towards it and stream when you can. If you have the connection to do that, you can pre-record yourself and then add that video afterwards. There are so many things, but if I wanted to say one thing and resume to one, it will be to communicate.
All right, and then I don't think you answered completely this one, but what is your advice to people who want to get into the industry? What would be your advice? Like, what should they study? You know, where should they start? How did you get into the video gaming industry yourself, and what's the path that you would recommend for someone?
Well, in that industry, most of the people are passionate. So at some point, they do like to play, they do like to draw, they do like to code, they do like to sell, they do like something. So obviously, it's to push on that point. And I would not say you should go to any school, whatever, because it will always depend on the profile. Once again, in a gaming company, you have accounting, you have sales, you have developers, obviously, you have game designer, you have everything. So it's just like a matter of, if you want to get in that industry, there will always be a place for you. But at the moment, the main important thing is to show your story. I think the more people will show their story in Africa, the easier it will be to get a job. If you're looking for a job, it will be easier to become an esports pro gamer. It will be easier for you to sell your games because people will know that you have a game. So everything, I think, goes through the communication. If you're on social network, the rest will happen, because you'll meet people and they will tell you what to do. You'll ask, you will be able to ask questions, and then from that point learn way more than if you go to school and stay from 9 to 5 and that's all.
Yeah, it's all the passion, like you said earlier. Douglas, what would be your advice to someone who wants to get into the industry?
For me, mine will be to welcome them. I think there's space for, as Nousra says, it's a creative industry, which means you'll utilize your creativity to the skill sets. The numbers are rosy, so even though it's a patient game, you'll definitely make money. And then 3, I think the market is ready. So yeah, just hone your skills, build a good product, push it out in the market. Don't be afraid of failing, but push it out. You'll definitely, at the end of the day, one will get to make it. Yeah, there's already market both in Africa and globally. Thank you.
All right. How about you, Shola Kunmi? What's your advice to an aspiring person who wants to get into the industry?
Well, I always say ask on Google because Google will definitely tell you the first place you need to go to. Do research on professional esports players, know how they started, know where they are now, and follow all their stories. Look for local people to also associate with and start visiting local tournaments constantly, looking for the organizations that provide tournaments and game devs, and try and just mix with them so that you can at least know what you're going into and what it takes to be part of them. And the most important thing is having the passion. It's not because you want to make money out of esports that you go into it. You only go into esports because you have the passion. If you don't have the passion, it will just be okay. I just want to make money, and then if you go through um, some parts where borders that you can't pass, when you start failing, you give up immediately. So for me, have the passion. If you have the passion for it, just look for the people around you that are into it and start following their stories, and then look at professional people that have done it before you, learn from them, and then go into it. So that's just my advice.
All right, thanks. And then Yves, everyone has talked about passion. You've been passionate about video games since you started in the 90s. So what's your advice to someone who wants to get into it professionally?
Yeah, passion is of course important, but since it's also it's a work, it's not only fun. It's fun, but it's also work. So inform yourself, participate to game jams, participate to Make Games Africa group, participate to African Game Devs group Douglas mentioned. So really educate yourself, inform yourself on everything so that you can choose, like Nousra was saying, the job, the thing, the talents to grow, etc. So that you have all the information. And second thing, there are more and more video games events happening, like FEJA, of course, but which is several years old already. Africa Games Week, more and more video games events happening in Africa, and especially now with online and digital events, it's even more easier and cheaper for students or young talents to participate. So participating to events is very important, both to educate yourself, but also to get network from people from the industry who are generally very open to share their expertise with young talents or students. So attend to conferences, attend to online events, and share and do some networking, which will help you afterwards as well.
Fantastic. Well, this panel session comes to a close. Thank you to each and one of you for being here and being able to answer the questions and being open to all our viewers today. Thanks to FEJA, 4th edition of FEJA, and have a great day, everyone.